out to one of our photojournalists, Eli Jordan, who's on the grounds in Atlanta. I believe he said at Piedmont Park. Eli, you're seeing people gathering around, not necessarily with any specific group, but they have concerns. Is that right?
Yeah, hey, good morning, Judea. It's good to see you finally this morning. I've been looking around for, we got some emails about some supporters gathering, and I waited for them. I didn't find any supporters of our actions overseas, but I came to another location here at Piedmont Park, and then we have concerned citizens who are not completely in support of our actions. And there seems to be about a couple dozen people here. And one of the people is Matt Woodruff. He's a concerned citizen. And Matt, how you doing today?
Doing fine, thank you.
And so tell me, why are you out here today?
Yeah, we're out here today because we're trying to figure out what comes next. I think, I'm a member of an organization called STAND, and we're really interested in making sure that the dignity of all people is respected. That includes the dignity of U.S. citizens as well as the dignity of the people of Venezuela. One of the concerns is that it seems like this action has been taken really without consulting the Congress, U.S. Congress, that we are starting to take unilateral actions overseas in a way that we probably shouldn't constitutionally. And in addition to that, it's looking like we've decided that we are going to run Venezuela and in the interim as they figure out governance. And so, with statements coming out saying that we are going to rebuild oil infrastructure before turning it back over, with information coming out that citizens in Venezuela are being asked to shelter in place for the time being by the U.S. government, we just want to make sure that the next actions of our government in the United States is one that takes into account the actual will of the people of Venezuela as well as the people of the United States.
So to be clear, you have no problems with a dictator being removed?
It's not about a dictator being removed. It's about the U.S. government unilaterally removing a dictator outside of congressional authority. We could have a conversation about whether it is a good idea for us to be doing nation building. It's been my impression that that wasn't something that we were going to be involved in, at least in the short term. But, if the president decides with Congress that that's something that we need to do, that's a conversation that should be had at the governmental level. It's the unilateral approach here of removing a head of state without congressional approval that really has us concerned about what comes next, because it feels like there might be ulterior motives here.
Speaking of ulterior motives, Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves of 300 billion barrels of oil. Is it concerning to hear the president say we're going to send in our big corporations and have them build up the infrastructure? I mean, I've heard some concerns of corporate cronyism and stuff. What is your position on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it is concerning, first of all, in respect to our historical involvement in countries that have had large oil reserves and our willingness to sort of go in and break down some of the governmental infrastructure and make deals. I hope that that's not the case here. I hope that this was truly an action on behalf of the Venezuelan people to restore the will of the people to governance. But I think that we need to be very careful about how we move forward and make sure that we don't slip into a colonialist mindset here.
What would you like to see? What would you think is a good next move? I mean, not that you're, a political leader or anything, but I mean, what do you think is a good, safe move that would be reassuring for you and the people out here today?
Well, I think that hearing from the Venezuelan people as to what they want to have happen next, I understand that there are a lot of people that are very excited that Maduro is no longer in power, and that makes sense. There have been a lot of people that have fled over the last decade because of horrible conditions over there and political persecution. But there is also a woman living in exile currently that a significant portion of the Venezuelan people trust. I'd like to hear from her. I'd like to hear from the Venezuelan people and understand how they want the United States to act on behalf or off to the side in support of their country.
Is there any concern about America's reputation being damaged as far as trustworthiness? We're doing regime change.
Yeah.
That was considered, a lot of people say that was Putin's concern with invading Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you think it damages America's reputation?
I think it is, yeah. The short answer is yes. I think that when a government decides that it's unilaterally willing willing and authorized to make these kinds of moves, it makes you an extraordinarily volatile partner in anything, right? Because it means that you're not willing to follow international norms, and you're willing to just sort of do whatever it is that you feel like the right next move for the country is, even if you haven't actually gone through the process of asking that country what the will is.
Now, I know that you guys are just getting out here, and you're not in on the organization and all that, but what is the idea of what's going to be happening here today with you guys as I pan over and kind of show the scene?
Yeah, so what you're going to see here is basically the beginnings of the organization. So these are the folks that keep people safe and keep people safe and healthy on the route. We're going to be marching from here to the North End MARTA station, the idea of the march today will be essentially talking about a desire not to occupy Venezuela in the long term, right? This is an effort just to talk about what comes next. Obviously, this action has already been taken. The question is, how are the next 3 months going to play out? And I don't think it serves anyone to have U.S. occupation in the long term of a foreign country.
So really, regime change, not good, but it's already been done. But what's the plan now, I guess, is the question.
I think that is the question that's everybody is asking, and I personally would like to make sure that we are in alignment with the people of Venezuela as we sort of ponder that next step.
Maybe not quite as unstable as Libya was, but we caused a vacuum there, and we didn't really have a plan. And the kind of regime change hasn't been a good marker for American history. We haven't seemed to be too good at regime change.
I think our recent history would agree with you.
But Matt Woodruff, thank you so much. Appreciate your time out here, and you're getting with your people to gather and protest and make your voices heard about your concerns, right?
Yeah, and hopefully hear from some of the folks working on behalf of the people of Venezuela.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.
Dan. That's what's going on here today. It's just been just over 24 hours since our invasion, I guess, or the removal of Maduro from Venezuela. And so there's, what Matt said, what's next? What would happen next? They're concerned about, no congressional approval, unilaterally removing a person in power from another sovereign country. All right, we've done that. There's not much we can do about it now, but what happens next? What's going to happen with the country? What's going to happen for the people? Who is this going to benefit? In reality, is this going to be more of a benefit for big oil companies, or is this going to be a true benefit for the citizens of Venezuela? And given a history of America in Latin America for its regime change, there's legitimate concern about what we're doing in Venezuela and in other parts of the world. And I know that other countries are looking with concern. Are they next? Or are our allies next? So needless to say, this has been somewhat of a bit of a surprise to not only the American people of us going and removing a leader of a country, but it's also probably a surprise to many world leaders, many of our allies and all that. But here at Piedmont Park, people are getting ready to march down to the North Drive MARTA station, which is close to the High Museum, I believe, and or down around that area. But they're going to march through Midtown, make their voices heard, wondering what's next. They're against any kind of occupation of Venezuela, and they just want to know what is going to happen next, since we have removed the leader of Venezuela last night, and have them, he and his wife Celia, in a jail in Brooklyn, awaiting a hearing come early next week.
All right, let's get out to him. I know you finally met up with a group at Piedmont Park, and it looks like more and more people are showing up. Eli, what are they on the side of?
Hey, Judea, yeah, they are not in support of our government's actions that happened this weekend. They are against regime change, and they are against occupation. And I'm going to speak with Zach Simmons, right?
Zach Simmons.
Zach Simmons. Zach, we are live right now.
Lovely.
Yeah, and let me get you unmuted here. So, Zach, tell me, appreciate your time out here.
Yeah.
Tell me, why are you guys out here today?
We're out here not to be against the people of Venezuela. We're happy for them, right? What we're here to do is to say the president does not have the sole authority to declare law and kidnap foreign leaders. We're concerned that the transition might not be smooth. We're concerned that the U.S. will do push undue influence and steal oil that isn't theirs. What we want to see is Congress step up and take back its job as declaring war, and for America to continue to work with the international community on events like this.
So Maduro and his wife are already captured. They're in Brooklyn now awaiting trial. Nothing really can be done about that now. What are the next steps that you guys are hoping for, that you're hoping for? Is it, someone who's
I would like to see some international and congressional oversight. I think that Donald Trump needs to answer. I think we need to see what was prepared, how we got here, and institute and put in place checks to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
And so you guys are all out here today. You got here about an hour and a half ago or something.
Yep.
Tell me, what message are you guys hoping to get out? I mean, you might be echoing what you just told me, but also what's your plan today?
We're looking to help facilitate and let the community have a safe place to come and show that they're against Donald Trump's actions, and that the president can't just do this. It's not unprecedented, but it's really dangerous. And he's talking about other countries, and we're not an empire. We don't need to be doing any empire building.
But some people would argue Maduro was a dictator, and it's good that he left. 7 million people have fled his country. He allowed the infrastructure to fall apart when they could be making, tons of money off of the oil sales.
I won't argue that point, but what I will say is that there are other ways to achieve what was achieved. This should have involved the international community. It should have been declared by Congress. There were ways to do this that didn't go down this way and didn't put so much power in the hands of a one-man Donald Trump.
So tell me, who all is here? This is a coalition of people, correct?
Yeah, this is we have Georgia Voices United. We've got a number of indivisible chapters. We've got 5051 Georgia. We've got a large number of organizations here. There might be 15 organizations involved in this.
Is your plan to protest here in Piedmont Park, or what is your plan?
We're going to start at Piedmont Park, and then we're going to go march down into the city.
And any plans to disrupt traffic? People are going to be wondering that.
We're not going on the highway. We're gonna make this as we're gonna take the rights that we do have to protest, but we don't plan on undue disruption.
But you're going to be visible, though.
Visible, yes. Just undue disruption, no.
Gotcha. And ultimately, bottom line, what do you hope for the people of Venezuela, and what do you hope for the stance of American government?
In the past, taking out leadership is left a vacuum, and I don't think that they had enough time to plan this properly. And without boots on the ground, I don't know how you do that, but I hope that it doesn't go how it's gone in history. I hope everything goes smoothly. I hope they get a functioning democracy, and they can take their oil reserves back and have an independent, fully functional democracy.
Thank you very much, Zach Simmons. Just shake your hand here.
Yeah.
Wrong hand. But good luck to you guys. Stay safe out there, and good luck on getting your word out.
Appreciate it.
Yep. So that was Zach Simmons. He is part of one of the organizers here, and you can see the crowd is growing more larger and larger, and so I'm not exactly sure when they plan to take it to the streets and head on out, but that's their plan. They say they're going to stay within the ordinances and not stop traffic and things like that, but they're just here to get their word out and get their opinions about our actions down in Venezuela that happened this past weekend. And events like this bring out a lot of the creatives in us, and all sorts of walks of life and cultures and things like that. And that's what makes America great, is just being able to have protests like this, protests against our actions, and also rally in support of it as well. But this one seems to be a mixed bag, this issue here with what we did with Venezuela, because there's a good many people who are excited about what we did, and because many Venezuelans, or 7 million Venezuelans, have fled the country since he's been in power, and the infrastructure has seen a good bit of decay, and they have not been able to take advantage of their oil reserves and benefit the country as many think they should have been able to. And then also too, you got the claims of drug being brought into America, and we've had the boat attacks and the strikes and things. But as far as regime change goes, we have, America has quite a history of regime change in Latin America, and so this isn't new for us. But honestly, to tell you the truth, I mean, this kind of reminds me, personally, which is my opinion, reminds me of what we did in Libya. We went in there and we got rid of Gaddafi, and we didn't have a plan. Oh, and of course, the region is not quite as volatile down in Venezuela as it was in North Africa. But hopefully, hopefully we have a plan to fill the vacuum as soon as we can, and so the people of Venezuela can enjoy their lives. I mean, just imagine, just think if you had plans, some really serious plans this weekend, and you lived in Venezuela, then all of a sudden you're being told to shelter in place.
Turned upside down.
Your whole, exactly, yeah. And, we are insulated from a lot of the upheavals in the world, for most all the upheavals in the world. And, we as Americans, when we don't have power for a day or two, we start panicking. And but when the whole government collapses and you have regime change, there's more than just power that can be affected. I mean, it's just the ways of life and currencies and just rules and laws. So it's a huge state of flux in Venezuela, but people here in Atlanta and Piedmont Park are getting ready to voice their opinions about how they feel about what we've done in Venezuela, and they're going to stick to the ordinances and do what they're allowed to do by law, not block any traffic, and but they're going to get the word out and be very visible throughout Midtown Atlanta. Probably see some people on some overpasses, and so that's what's happening here. This is the reaction going on. One of the, I'm sure there's some other places, but this is a rallying point for the opposition of the removal of Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia this weekend by way of American forces going in by air and hitting his compound and arresting him and his wife. And they are now in Brooklyn awaiting a hearing later on this week. Meanwhile, reaction is brewing in America about, some people are saying this is Donald Trump's actions, and other people saying this is a long time due. He needed to go, Maduro needed to go, and President Trump did the right thing. So it's, I was honestly, today I was speaking to someone yesterday covering news, and he said that he got I think an Uber or a Lyft, I'm not sure which one, but he said his driver is from Venezuela and was extremely excited and ecstatic about learning the news of Maduro's removal. So that's just one case of just me personally hearing about a reaction from somebody from Venezuela, by way of another person. But gentleman said that when he was driving, found out that his driver is Venezuelan, and his driver was extremely ecstatic and excited that Maduro's gone. So I'm sure that there's a lot of different perspectives. I mean, here in America, we don't believe in regime change, or citizens don't, but down in Venezuela, we might have a totally different thought if we experienced what Venezuelans have been experiencing. So really, I don't know what's going on. I don't have any opinion, but like you heard Zach Simmons say, and Matt earlier, is, maybe not do this unilaterally, maybe have approval from Congress, and make it not seem so, one person's decision and go through the right channels. But I think the main concern here is America is getting a little bit too reliant on unilaterally making decisions and regime change. And that's what's going on out here at Piedmont Park, a rallying point for the opposition of the removal of Nicolas Maduro. Judeo.
Eli, thank you for walking us through this. The two people that you grabbed for interviews were very well spoken, and I'm glad that they were able to explain their points so well. It was interesting to see that they're not necessarily anti everything that happened, just concerned about the fact that they're saying, you know, Congress was not informed of what was happening here, that we just went ahead and did it, and now we're just going to go ahead and, you know, take control of Venezuela. And I know the big question a lot of people have been asking is whether the U.S. can legally do that. So I want to come back to me here in studio. I know we've got some video up of those strikes if I want to play a little bit of it for you. But we have been looking into this question and trying to understand exactly how we got there, that you're seeing there on your screen. We know that according to the New York Times, the capture of Maduro appeared to be in violation of the United Nations Charter, which is a treaty that was ratified by the United States. We also know that that charter states that the nation is not supposed to use force on a sovereign territory of another country without UN Secretary Council approval, unless that action was in self-defense. And so that is the loophole that the U.S. has used to go ahead in and, you know, do those strikes and then go in and take Maduro and his wife into custody. President Donald Trump has said that a helicopter was hit, that a couple of U.S. military members were injured. We do know that no Americans were killed during that incident. We also know, because he has told us, that none of the U.S. aircrafts involved were destroyed. It's just unclear how many members of the Venezuelan military were killed during all of this. So while we do have some people on one side saying that this was illegal, this is a criminal act, this is kidnapping, we also have some people on the other side that say this was necessary. We knew that this was going to happen, or probably going to happen at some point in time. We knew that Maduro was going to have to face the crimes that he was alleged to have done here in the U.S. at some point, and it was because he didn't turn himself in with his wife that this had to happen forcefully rather than peacefully. But another big question was whether or not Congress was notified. We do know, because leaders have told us, they were not. Congress was not in session. So we're waiting to see what lawmakers do when they return to Washington sometime next week. We've heard from the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, who is in full support. So, you know, it's just a question of how will everybody else receive this.